Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unbroken Arrows Healing Through the Hunt podcast. And I'm Greg, and I'm here with Trey, my son. And also joining us now is Mike Costanzo, and Mike Costanzo is part of the PDR Youth Hunt. And welcome, Mike.
Well, thank you, Greg. We appreciate the opportunity to visit with you about our little event.
Well, sure. Tell us a little bit about PDR Youth Hunt, Mike.
Well, first off, PDR stands for Peyton Dean Rasmussen, and his initials are on our disabled youth hunt. And he's a young lad who is no longer with us, and the hunt is named in his honor. As a matter of fact, the founder of the PDR Hunt is Peyton's grandfather, Dean Rasmussen.
Wow.
And about 17 years ago, boy, time does fly.
It sure does.
He got together with me, and he said, I'd like to do something that helps the disabled community. And so we put together the PDR Hunt, and it is an annual whitetail deer hunt. It is an authentic South Dakota whitetail deer hunt exclusively for the disabled youth in our area. We do have youth coming from all over the Midwest now. We've been doing it for 17 years, so we have built up a tradition and a reputation, and we treat these kids like they are something very, very special. It's a situation where one of the dads, Greg, told me, he said, you know, in our household, our son thinks that your event, your PDR Youth Hunt for Disabled, is bigger than Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
He said, on Christmas Day, everybody's getting gifts. He says, but you go out of your way to individualize and give gifts, this weekend hunt for my son. So it is a wonderful experience. You know, many of these kids come with different circumstances or, you know, situations. So we always do the hunt in mid-September when the weather is still good.
Sure.
And it's a completely guided hunt. I had special blinds made on trailers. They're insulated. I had the windows made lower so that the juniors in wheelchairs could have an easy access. I had them made with ramps, and I've got about a dozen of these things that the landowners will back up their pickup trucks and take them out to some of the most prominent whitetail deer land that you can find in the upper Midwest.
They're going to have every opportunity to be successful on this hunt, aren't they?
Well, exactly right. Matter of fact, we had one kid. This goes back a ways, but I was in the booth when Casey, he's a Native American lad, and his dad was with me, and he was in the blind, took his shot, 120 some yards, dropped that deer, and he got a nickname for that shot. When he got back to camp and told the story, they called him Casey One Shot. Casey One Shot. But here's the rest of the story, Greg. So we leave the blind, and I walk ahead, and his dad is pushing his son Casey in his wheelchair across the corn stubble, and we get to the area, we get to the carcass, and his father's named John. John stops, and he's saying words that I don't understand, and so I quietly stand there and just reverently wait and see what's happening here. And the father, John, takes his finger, Greg, bends down, and he puts his finger into the bullet hole. And he turns to his son, and he says, you know, in our tradition, in the Lakota tradition, when you take your first deer, it's a big deal. And you have to taste some of the blood and eat some of the heart. And Casey, I was standing there, and Casey looked up at his dad and said, Dad, that's your culture, not mine. Oh, man. I told John, I said, you did it absolutely backwards, John. You should have told him, Casey, there's absolutely no way you're going to taste any of this blood, and by gosh, you're not going to have any of that heart.
Reverse psychology. Huh?
Yeah, well, anyway, we have a great time.
Mm-hmm.
The kids come, as I said, from all over the Midwest, and it is, whatever their situation is, Greg, we have had kids who are autistic. We've had kids who have artificial limbs. We have kids. We had a kid who is blind. And what we do when we're in the blind, we bought these screens that fit on the end of the scope. And the dad or the mom will stand behind the lad and tell him up, down, left, right, and then pull. And he'll pull the trigger, and by golly, he got his deer.
The technology that is used for those types of things, that's a tremendous use of technology.
Absolutely. Well, so whatever the situation is, if your viewers or your listeners are listening, we will accommodate whatever the situation is. If they need help in any way, shape, or form, Greg, we will accommodate them. If they need a screen on the end of their scope, if they need a rifle, if they need ammunition, if they need whatever they need, we make it happen for them. Because there's these kids, you know how much trouble it is to get a kid in a wheelchair, in a car, drive hundreds of miles perhaps, and go deer hunting in the field. I mean, it takes a while. It takes an effort. So we appreciate that, and we pay for everything. We even pay mileage. We even pay for the processing of the venison if he harvests a deer, he or she harvests a deer.
Okay, so how can we help by getting the word out to folks that might be interested in a youth that they know to be part of your program?
Well, we have our website, which is pdryouthhunt.com. I'll say it again. It's pdryouthhunt.com. And we've got all the pictures from all the years. We've got the registration form for them to fill out right online, or they can print it out and mail it to us, or give me a telephone call. That information is all on, what's that website? pdryouthhunt.com.
Awesome. What about sponsors? If there's somebody that's listening that says, this is something I want to be involved in, and how could I help, either as a volunteer that would help with the hunts, and I don't know what that process is for a volunteer to get in contact and help with that, or if it's just family members that do that.
Well, Greg, you told me you're from Nebraska. Are you from what size town are you from, Greg?
Very small, less than 600.
Well, then you would understand what we're doing. Clark, South Dakota has got a population of about 1,100 people. And so when something like this comes to their town,
they come together.
It's a big deal.
Right.
I mean, the mayor is out there, and the ladies auxiliary are making bars, and the Rotary Club is flipping hamburgers. I mean, we got plenty of help. But we do take donations. And a matter of fact, I was at my booth here at the show, the Pheasant Fest. We have a booth. We're in the Premier Center at booth number 403. You look up at the ceiling, look for the 400s, come to our booth, and we have a donation of, a fishbowl there. You can donate there. I had a gentleman come by yesterday. He was also from Nebraska. And he said, he gave me his business card. He's the CEO, president of a company down in Nebraska. And he said, you mail me some information about your show. I'm going to donate it to your event. So, again, if you need information, if you'd like to help our cause, if you'd like to help put a disabled child in the field experiencing a big game hunt, PDRYouthHunt.com has all the contact information you need on it to help make that happen for us. And we really do need the help. This is not a big organization. It is just a couple of retired businessmen who put this thing together. So we're not connected with any big organization like United Way. We're just guys who wanted to do things right for some kids that needed some help.
That's awesome. So you mentioned your booth here at Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic, and Are there any other hunts that you do with the youth, or are you thinking about that, or right now it's you're focusing on doing one thing and one thing right with regard to the deer?
About all I can count on for the town of Clark, South Dakota, which is, for perspective, if you know where Watertown, South Dakota is, we're
Sure.
30 miles west of Watertown.
Okay.
And that's where the hunt takes place. And you really can't ask these people to do more than what they're doing now. I just don't want to impose on them. They give us access to their land. Most of the landowners are the ones that are the guides for these kids.
Okay.
So they give us access to the land, and they guide the kids, and many times it's their family members who are inside serving food and helping with the kids. And once we get the phone call back at the lodge that a deer has been harvested, it's like a whole posse. We all get in our pickup trucks and we drive out there and we take pictures and we field dress the deer, and then we take it into, I should mention, one of our great sponsors is Randy Grunwald and his wife Karen. They own the Dakota Butcher operation that's in about 5 different locations now in South Dakota.
Okay.
And that's where we process all of our deer. And let me tell you, we have about a dozen kids every year, Greg, that come to our event, annual, mid-September, and honest to gosh, about 7 or 8 of the dozen kids actually harvest deer. And our kids, our kids are not exactly the steadiest of shots.
Uh-huh.
So I think we're getting some divine intervention here.
Awesome. That's good. Now, the hunt last year was September 22nd through the 24th. So is that usually a
it's always
weekend, a Friday? Is
Yeah.
it a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type of event?
Thanks for asking. You'll show up on Friday, and there's a get acquainted at our lodge. We've got a hunting lodge. I built a shooting range right next to it. And so the kids will meet their guides, and they'll meet their other kids who are hunting. And it's just like a deer camp for anyone else. And after a few hours of mingling, it turns into that. Mm-hmm. The kids, as I said earlier, they start giving each other nicknames like Casey One Shot and Awesome Austin. And it turns into the type of event that you would expect to see, and you don't even realize that their kids have any type of disability. As a matter of fact, one of the kids said to his parent, he said, "You know what? I've been here 3 days, and no one's staring at me." Imagine that.
Yeah.
That being a thing, not being stared at. So anyway,
Conscious of that.
back to the process. You come on Friday for the get acquainted, and then you go out before sunrise on Saturday morning, and you go into your booth with your guide, and you have a session there. And if you harvest a deer, I told you, the fire team goes out
Yep.
and brings the deer back. And then we have a lunch at the lodge on Saturday afternoon, and then those who haven't harvested go out again on Saturday afternoon and have the afternoons sit. And again, if anything happens, we send the fire team out again, and we have a dinner on Saturday night. We have some awards, and we have a shooting contest that takes place as well. And there's prizes for how back at the adjacent shooting range, we have a little contest for these kids as well. And the prize is usually a firearm.
Okay.
And we also have prizes and things for kids, and we have logoed paraphernalia, garments and attire that they'll get as part of the prize. It's a nice deal. I mean, for your listeners, if you have a website or you got a bulletin board at church or at school, print out one of my applications that are on PDRYouthHunt.com. Print it out, put it up there. Because the hardest thing that we have to do, of all the things that we do, the hardest thing is finding kids, getting our message to kids. I guess because you don't really put high-powered rifles and wheelchairs usually in the same thought.
Sure.
But I'm telling you, when these kids are there, they are just having a ball.
It's better than
what they do
Christmas.
when they harvest a deer, they do what every kid does these days. They take out their phone and they're taking pictures and they're flying them through the air to their classmates, who some of them have yet to do what they are doing.
Right.
And this type of event, we've seen it happen, Greg. We've seen unsteady, uncertain, tentative children come in on Friday and leave on Sunday with a whole different attitude.
Confidence that they lacked before.
Things that they didn't think they could do, they do. And it builds that confidence. I had a dad tell me one time his son was reserved, and he was having trouble at the shooting range. He didn't want to fire that big rifle that his grandfather had bought him just for the hunt.
Really?
And it was too loud. You know, they have certain sensitivities that we don't have. And so we said, well, I'll tell you what, we thought it was going to be a bust. We thought that the kid wouldn't be able to participate. He was that gun shy. And so I went to my car, I got out a little .22 rifle, and he said, here, why don't you try this? And the .22, much different than the
270 or anything like that. Sure.
The 243 that he was shooting was very loud. So he started, and before long, Greg, there was a pile of spent casings at his feet.
Wow.
And at one point, he turns to his dad and he says, Dad, I'm through with this little gun. Go get me my big gun.
Oh, that's great. That's a great story. So, Mike, tell me, when is this year's hunt scheduled?
Well, it'll be mid-September, and I think it's the 21st, 2nd, and 3rd. I'll have to check here.
Okay.
But
I'm sorry. I could have looked at it on the website. It's the September 20th through the 22nd. Sorry, my fault.
Yeah, 20th, 21st, and 22nd. That's the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we need to get your applications in. As I keep saying, PDRYouthHunt.com, that's where the application can be found, along with everything else. All the information about us is there. But it's that application that needs to be in our hands sometime early August, at the latest.
Okay.
So now is the time to jump on that. What's that website again, Greg? PDRYouthHunt.com. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And get that information to us. It really is a fun deal, and it's a lifetime experience that will hang in these kids' minds like a trophy on the wall.
Absolutely. Now, one of my last questions here is purely selfish. Now, our podcast, Unbroken Arrows, Healing Through the Hunt. Is there any way that we could be on site during that hunt to possibly interview the families?
Oh, we'd love to have you.
About how that is a healing part in their lives.
You know, Greg, you don't even have to fill out an application for me.
You know where to get it, though.
Yes, that's right. PDRYouthHunt.com.
There we go.
No.
No, you're certainly, you and your son Trey and whoever else. If you want to make the trip up to the PDR Hunt on Friday, Saturday, and/or Sunday, the kids would just be. It would be another level of enjoyment that they should be entitled to. I would love to have them come online with you and share their experiences.
That would be a tremendous honor for us to do that as well. So we will stay in communication. One last question. We talked about rifle hunting. Are there any youth that desire to hunt with archery in any way, shape, or form, whether it be a crossbow? And I know that's kind of a touchy subject with
not touchy at all. We have kids who come to us who do have hunting experience and have done archery. Now ours is strictly a rifle situation. Okay. They have to. The only thing that kids have to do is get a license from the state of South Dakota for the youth hunt, and we follow the youth hunt season, which is a rifle season, or in early September. So it doesn't coincide with the archery at all. But we have kids who have had experience. We have had kids with no experience. We have kids who got their experience at us and now are longtime hunters. We had one kid, last time he was actually a participant. But Greg, it was 5 years ago, and he happened to see online that the hunt last September was coming along, and he just texted me. He said, "Hey, I'm living in Minnesota now, and I just saw that your hunt is taking place this weekend." And he said, "Yeah, it is." And he said, "I'd like to come." I said, "Well, you're certainly welcome." And this individual who is handicapped, he drives a pickup truck that is specially adapted to his needs.
Sure.
But he drives 5-hour round trip, devoted his entire 3-day weekend to help kids he'd never met experience the same thing that he experienced 5 years ago.
Wow. That's an impact. That's a positive impact on people's lives. So, well, Mike, thank you on behalf of me and Trey. Thank you for stopping by the booth and visiting. And again, PDRYouthHunt.com. If it's a situation that any of our listeners want to become a donor to the program, if there are any families that have a youth that is disabled and would be interested in this program, PDRYouthHunt.com.
Yeah, and come to our booth here at the Pheasant Fest. We're in the Denny Sanford Arena section of the show this year. You can speak to me face to face and get all the information right from the horse's mouth.
And I had the honor of meeting Dean yesterday, and I can't remember the pup's name. Is the pup here today and tomorrow too?
Ren. Yeah,
Ren.
Come down and pet.
Meet
Ren is one of the friendliest dogs you'll find.
I would agree.
We have some Hershey's Kisses there.
Yep.
But Ren also gives kisses.
Okay. And tomorrow, Sunday, is free to all youth 16 and under. So it would be a perfect opportunity for families, and it is Family Day. That's the first time that Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic is honoring the families on
We'd
Sunday.
love to have a family come that has a potential hunter and sign up right at our booth.
Absolutely.
If you know anybody, if you're listeners out there, tell your neighbors about that. Tell them to get their kid in the car and come on down.
Awesome. Mike, thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you, Trey, and thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.